you very much, Nick. Yeah, we had a really interesting discussion. Yeah, so in my also I have my dark hours, and then I think we are all doomed. Yeah, so but today perhaps a little lighter versions of my nightmare. So me, I'm a trained computer scientist. Yeah, so and I also studied philosophy. Yeah, so in Aachen, and now I'm working in Aachen in a research group leading it called Advanced Community Information Systems. Yeah. So we are computer scientists, and we try to build systems for communities, for research communities, but also for learning communities. Mainly we are working in European project funded by the Commission about what they call technology enhanced learning. So we have a number of them, and from the computer science perspective, yeah, so we are mainly interested in web engineering and web analytics. So I liked your research into the Facebook data, yeah, so but it's even worse that you can find out if you use Google graph search. Yeah, so perhaps I'll tell you some of the possibilities. And last but not least, we are working with real people. Yeah. We want to elicit and understand the needs of real users, real communities by applying what we call requirements engineering, which is a sub field of software engineering. Yeah. So web engineering means mainly that we are building fancy web technologies. Yeah. So, but in the center of all our research are communities, and when we are talking about communities, we most of the time we're talking about professional communities. Yeah. So people which are earning money with what they are doing. Yeah. So it's, sometimes we are also supporting other kind of communities, but most of the time just professional communities. So I brought two cases today, yeah, so from our own research track, and so the kind invitation of Nick made me reflecting about what we have done in terms of ethics, but also about observations. So, and what I say today, perhaps some of these things are very new, yeah, for me and also for you, and perhaps there are some bold things I will say. Yeah, so, and perhaps some of the ideas are half-baked only. Yeah, so please shoot at me. Yeah, so if you think that is all nonsense. So I'm talking about, I think, about observations about doing science nowadays, which is, I think, quite different from what we have done perhaps 50 years ago in terms of just doing science. And then coming to the field of learning analytics, which is, as you said, Jill, emerging field, yeah, with a lot of opportunities, yeah, and I also think this needs some kind of ethical guidelines, and I will talk about some lessons learned from project we did in that field. Hope not to bore you too much, so all time you can ask questions if you want. I try to understand and to answer them. I have already recognized, yeah, so that you are speaking a decent English, contrary to me. Yeah, so please be a little bit patient with me and try to speak a little bit slower. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of science fiction, and it is quite common for computer scientists. Yeah. So, and this guy here is called Wally, yeah, from a Disney movie, and you know Wally is the last inhabitant of Earth. Yeah. after everybody else left, and his task is to carry away the garbage we left. And I like this story because he's a hero. He's a hero in the sense that we use heroes in storytelling. So it's paradigmatic subjects of our encoded knowledge about what we are knowing about life. Wally may be the end of the story, so cleaning away the garbage, but he's also meeting Eve, so everything is starting again. Perhaps not with us as humans, but perhaps another being, kind of being robots, why not? It's also a kind of life form. So if you see the current research things, so it's turning people into cyborgs. That is one of the things which we are doing in Aachen in the moment. Called cyber physical systems. And that has also to do with this self-optimization. You mentioned the fortified self becoming more and more transhuman or superhuman. And finally we made it. Okay, so the network scientist. So do you know this guy? This is, as you should know, it's Albert Einstein, and he is, if you want to picture science, you would immediately think of Albert Einstein, because he is what we say an iconographic image of science. But Albert Einstein died a long time ago. He was ethically, I think, most of the time on the right side. So he had one dark hour. It was his letter about the nuclear bomb. They are writing to the president, and later on he really suffered a lot writing this letter. But from the history, perhaps you can personally understand what he was thinking at that time. And he was, I think, what we call a great scientist. So he was not a universal genius anymore like Newton was. So this time was over, but he was a genius in physics. But still here we have already a disciplinary fence, I would call it now. Going on, do you know this guy? This is from the movie Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Love the Bomb. So, by the way, this is not Dr. Strangelove. This is Peter Sellers, the British actor. No, but you are right. So it's Dr. Strangelove, and in the Cold War, and that is what I want to stress. So these kind of scientists became the public image of scientists. The mad professor, the nutty professor in the positive way. But this is not a real person. This was already an amalgamation of different scientists. Hermann Kahn, John von Neumann, computer scientist, Edward Teller, nuclear physicist, and Wernher von Braun, rocket scientist from Germany. Have been working on a lot of Cold War programs, like the H-bomb development, and the game theory, which was perhaps nicely visited in the war game movie. This, and my hypothesis is that we are still thinking in these categories, of this Cold War distinction between the Iron Fence, and in the 60s there was, or the late 50s, was this Sputnik shock, and the Russians shot up the first rocket with a satellite into the orbit. And at that time, the US was really fearing losing the pole position in doing science. So, and they had done massive investments in translating Russian literature, research literature, automatically into English, because there were not enough Russian-speaking people because of the McCarthy era. Nobody was wanting to learn Russian. Yeah, not coming on the blacklist at that time. So, but it was a gigantic failure. Yeah? So, and after the fall of the Iron Fence, a lot of all these mathematical proofs had to be renamed, because this was most of the time the case that some Russians had done the proof a couple of years before the US or the British researcher did it. You know this guy?
Turing. Turing.
Yeah, this is Alan Turing. This is our godfather of computer science. Yeah, so it's 2012 was his 100th birthday, big party all over the world. You know, he's a genius of computer science. So still, when we talk about what is computable in principle, so we cite Alan Turing because he wrote the most seminal paper about it. What is a computer and what is a human? So, and what is the difference? And he said, everything what is computable in mathematics can be computed by a computer, essentially. So, and this that in the end there will be no difference between humans and computers. So, and he also invented a test for this. So it's called Turing test. I do not go into details, but if you do not, as a human, cannot decide if your conversation partner is a human or not, then the conversation partner has passed the Turing test. So, and so people are working hard on inventing such computers doing that and going into the science fiction literature. So they have already invented it. So there are computers of the final generation, which has been built by the computers of the pre-final generation, because no humans were able to construct them anymore. But these computers, they are so smart, they decided not to talk to humans anymore. So it was just a waste of time. So there's a nice book by Stanislav Lem where there are some lectures given by the computer of the pre-final station called Golem 14. And he is making interpretations of what the computer of the final generation is thinking about humans. So it's a really nice book about teaching in the future. So and the name of this final generation computer, by the way, is Honest Annie. So what I want to say. This is what is computer science nowadays. So it's this is a database, a visualization and analysis of a database we did about computer science literature. There are around 800,000 papers in this database, which can be distinguished into roughly around 4,000 different journals and conferences. So this is a co-citation analysis. So what we have analyzed was all these little bubbles are the conferences or the journals, and the links between that are created when more than 50 citations from this bubble were made to this bubble here. So it's an overlap by the knowledge flow between the research communities, which is manifested in the media they are producing, the journals and the conferences, by acknowledging each other. what you can see from the color coding is that there is a classification, yeah, big data classification, maybe wrong, maybe right, as Jill said, so maybe coarse, maybe too fine. But the colors are coding the different areas. We'll go into the details with that. And what you also see is there are certain paths. So not every community is talking to every other community. So it's the knowledge flow. It's what we call this clustered. So it's a complex network, and these journals and conferences are clustered in so-called research communities. So and in these clusters, so they are very dense connections between the different journals and conference. That means people which are writing for the British Journal of Educational Technology would perhaps also cite from people for computer and education, or from educational technology and society, or other journals. But they would rarely cite from other fields like databases or human-computer interaction. And some editors also enforce this policy by saying to prospective authors, please cite at least 5 journal articles from my journal. It's maybe not ethical behavior, but
don't do that.
It's happening. And you know that is perhaps more common than we all think. Would be also explaining some of the effects like the citation cartel and so on. So where I am. So what is the face of the computer scientists nowadays? So my hypothesis, we are vanishing into communities and in committees. And that means also we are losing personal responsibility. So reputation is the essential coin of a scientist. But nowadays, as in the public image, so we have still the Cold War image of a scientist on the public mind, with strong fences between them. This has been turned into communities, research communities fighting against each other, trying to get attention from the public audience, because of a lot of reasons, I would have to say. So, and to support this, here I go a little bit into the details. So here you see the different fields. Like here's a theory of computer science, here is data mining, artificial intelligence, databases, somewhere I would be here. So if you dig deeper, you would find me here. If you see that, so you see it's highly clustered. All these things are available online if you want to see that. What happened? So you see in 1990, this was the map of computer science at that year. So it's unbelievable. It's not 25 years ago. It was for most of the computer science, I would say it was possible still to know everything about computer science. But you see, with the number of scientists, the numbers of venues exploded. So I said 4,000 venues nowadays where you can publish your computer science results. So getting that into these cluster thing. So every second you take a breath, so more and more scientists are doing science. So that is a matter of fact. So and the numbers are unbelievable. So in China, they train every year 600,000 civil engineers. So graduated from a university or higher education institute, 600,000. building bridges and streets and tunnels, water streets and so on. But also a lot of scientists in this database. Yeah, so we have so many Huas and Wangs and other people. It's really hard to distinguish them. Yeah? So it's a matter of fact. Yeah? So that with all our tools we have to analyze these data sets, we have really faced difficult situations to distinguish scientists from each other or mathematically. You would say that this can be distinguished by so many factors, yeah? But life is so complex. Yeah? So it's so we have found 2 Italian researchers with the same name, working in the same department, in the same university, and doing similar things, yeah? And they are not related to each other. Yeah? Yeah, it's, or father and son. Yeah? So in the US, they say, if the people are correctly spelling your middle initial, can decide about your career. Yeah? So if you are spoiled with another Larry Muller Jr., yeah, because of your missing middle initial, yeah, this can cost you a professorship, yeah, because you are not found in these databases anymore. Yeah. So all these big data, yeah, so it's bouncing back at us researchers. We have initiated that, but that is now shaping us. Yeah? So we are turning into something perhaps we have not intended to turn into. Yeah? So when I started science, I would have thought I'd become the new Einstein, yeah? Well, at least a new Turing. But now I'm realizing I'm somewhere there. Yeah? It's not such a nice selfie, yeah, of me as a researcher, but research has become what we call a long tail. Yeah? So there are only in every discipline, yeah, so there are leaders, yeah, for sure, but if the leader in one discipline is not the leader of science or the public image of science, and it was Albert Einstein, yeah, so which is a prototypical scientist for standing to everybody else. What we had turned into, or we are facing at, is becoming Mechanical Turk. Yeah? You know, perhaps Mechanical Turk from Amazon is a service. Yeah? So it's mediated by the website. There are people who are registering there, and so if you have a job, you can find people which are doing this job for you without knowing those people. Yeah? So you just give them the job, they return the results, and you pay them. Yeah? So and it's not that much what you have to pay, because my belief is that most of these people are working in developing countries with very low wages, yeah? So, but still connected to the internet. So what is happening? Yeah? So one thing what is happening when I review papers for technology-enhanced learning, often the evaluation is done with Mechanical Turks. Yeah? So lately I have reviewed a paper about recommending educational resources, and they have paid 112 Mechanical Turks to assess quality. So, and they promised 41% of these people were librarians or teachers. Yeah? So I said, oh, wow, yeah, 59% have no idea what they are doing. Yeah? So, and the other 41% are just pretending. Yeah? So, because do you believe what they say? Yeah? So it's they are Mechanical Turks. Yeah? So you cannot look inside. Yeah? There may be a teacher in it, yeah? But there may be also somebody who's just pretending to be a teacher. Yeah, so that is the one side, yeah? But the other side is ourselves. We are also turning into Mechanical Turks. Yeah? So, and that is because of all this pressure from the outside. Yeah? So, and from economic pressures. So research has to prove that it's useful. Yeah. So and for the greater good. Yeah. So for the society and if you cannot prove it, yeah, so they cut your funds. Yeah, so and you get new funds, so have to make a lot of proposals. Yeah, so where you write half of the proposal not about the research, but how the research is it's applied for creating jobs, being innovative or something like that. Yeah. Things as a researcher, you have no idea what they are. What you should write there, yeah. So as I said, so what I believe here, what happened, yeah. So that the Great Iron Fence, which after the fall of the Russian Empire, resurrection perhaps nowadays, yeah, has been replaced by many fences around the research communities. And so, we have a picture of communities. For example, here the environmental sciences, they are much under pressure because of the global warming debate. So, and it's ongoing. Who is right? Who is wrong? Yeah. So, and a lot of facts are shared about the data. All the data are shared, but still, yeah. It's a public debate if it's Earth warming or not. If you ask 10 people, you get 9 opinions about that. So we have the long tail of research communities. That means so we have some research communities which are quite successful in the moment, like computer science, get a lot of money. But there are many other research communities which lack funding and so on and so forth. And all this is getting more, getting worse and worse. So because of public funding cuts, you know, in the UK, so it was the first thing in the financial crisis was cut, was budgets for research. There are countermeasures, but open access, is a nice idea. What is happening? So I get at least 10 emails a day with a serious or honest invitation to become an editor for an open access journal. So run by a Serbian office, by a Chinese office, by an Indian office. So in the moment I have the feeling, that doing science has really become something which is really for the public image of science is not really tangible. So it becomes more and more a blurred concept. So what is happening? Every public debate, so there's a study and always said, this is paid by industry, so you can't believe it. This is financed by the government, you can't believe it. So in Germany now they have detected that many of the studies we are doing are paid by the Department of Defense of the US government. And the students were saying, oh, they pay research in Germany and so on. So and what do you say? What do you think? Who is paying science? So it's there's still war on this planet. So and all computer science is dual use technology. So it's most of the things we have invented for health are coming from military, like computer vision helping to understand or to diagnose a tumor. So it's coming from technology which was used to distinguish a tank from a house. If you are bombed. So that was the reason for this. Okay, so I think we need big data research for understanding science, yeah, so it's like social network analysis and machine learning. So what we can do, yeah, so we have algorithms which automatically say this community is a low-performing community or this is a high-performing community. So we cannot see if they are really learning, but we can see how they perform. So means of quality. But whereas the research ethics, yeah, so there's ongoing debate also in computer science and some of the journals, and there are some reports like the Mando report, you can also Google it up, yeah, so which is showing how we can get back the ethics into this play. And I think this what we need is some new kind of ethics, not which is related to the scientist, but to the research community. Yeah. So that is important because otherwise, if we would say this guy is responsible for global warming, that would be a big mistake. So it's we are living in a world of networks. Everything is networked. So responsibility has blurred, and somehow we have to invent something which is new and paying respect to that fact that science is really done differently. So coming now to the second case, learning analytics. Yeah. We already heard what is learning analytics. So here this is from the Horizon report, which is quite relevant for making wrong assumptions about the future. Yeah. So the Horizon report was saying nothing about MOOCs 2 years ago. Yeah. So I'm not surprised. Now they are doing also assumptions about learning analytics, and they say that's a field associated with deciphering trends and patterns from educational big data. Yeah? So a huge set of students' data to further the advancement of personalized supportive system of higher education. So you see higher education, so learning analytics, higher education, that is here connected to each other. Yeah? So I strongly object. Yeah? So as I will tell later, because I think for some good reasons, yeah, so informal learning is more important nowadays. You know this guy, yeah, Julian Assange, godfather of leaking. Yeah, so so what we know about the world, we know about, from leaking. Yeah, so and some recent knows about leaking analytics. Yeah? Here are some leaks. Yeah, so and they are really randomly collected from the last couple of years, 2-3 years. This is very new, the BC leak in Austria. They have found 400,000 confidential tests of pupils and 37,000 email addresses of Austrian teachers on Romanian servers accessible from the internet, really covered broadly by the press in Austria. Yeah, big scandal there. But that is common. Yeah? So the University of Maryland, they leaked 300,000 personal record data, perhaps also with payment information, yeah, about teachers, professors, students, yeah, by a hack. So here in Florida State University, 47,000 teachers in training data leaked, and so on and so forth. So in Oxford, I have tried to find some British case. Yeah, in Oxford leaks a list of the 50 worst performing students. Yeah, so yeah, no, the British are more specialized in leaking NHS data. Yeah, so it's not, or you are very good in not making that public. Yeah? So, but this list is really endless. Yeah? So So you could get the impression that all learning analytics is done on the street. Yeah. So and so what can be done? Yeah? So in one case we have worked on is a learning analytics case in a project called Telnet. So the idea was to enhance the e-twinning portal with social network data. So e-twinning is a web-based platform for European teachers and which are doing cross-country projects in schools with pupils. So it could be running together a chemistry course between an Estonian school and a French school, in French, for example. And they use this platform to manage these projects. So that means in this platform there's a lot of useful information. So about lifelong learning competences of teachers. So we have here in this platform at that time 220,000 teachers which were doing projects and they are using it like Facebook. So they have blogs there and they have around 23,000 conducted projects. So so one aim was to understand what they are doing, but the other idea was to teach teachers the competence to understand the network they are working in, and the impact this network has on the quality of projects they are doing. So and that was a mission impossible. So we failed. It was not possible to teach teachers to understand these kind of images I have shown you. And we did a lot of workshops with the teachers, but in the end I would say it takes another couple of years, and perhaps we have to start earlier in school teaching younger people how to read network data, how to understand networks, because thinking in networks it's not that easy. So but to understand that we have to analyze the data set, and the data set was run by an organization in Brussels. Do not spoil the name here. So and they had this data set. In the data set you can found all the teachers' names which were attached to all these projects and to the quality labels which were given by national agencies to projects like awards, it was a good project and so on. So, and we should make a social network analysis. So the problem was how can we work with this data without compromising the teachers. So, and we really worked hard on this, and we found a solution. So where we anonymized the whole data set, we scrambled it, we put it in different databases. It was at least for I think 99% of the rest of the world impossible to compromise the data. So it also has to do with the concept Jill introduced. When we did a workshop, we always asked explicitly the teacher if they are giving us their ID, that we can reveal the identity of them in the data set for the purpose of the workshop. And what was said or done in the workshop stayed in the workshop. So it was never taken to the outside. So no teacher could be compromised by participating in the workshop and working with her or his own data in the network. So this is a kind of analysis you can do if you are not having any personal information. So still you can find out a lot of things which are quite interesting. For example, you can find out if it is useful for the project quality to have a project diary. Yeah, so and we found out, yeah, so that it's more for keeping a journal. Yeah, so it's more important to network, to make contacts, than to have this diary. Yeah? So networking as an activity brings you more new projects in than in posting about it. Yeah? What we also could see that all the time, yeah, so the diameter of projects is shrinking. That means the distance between two projects in the graph, which is induced by this network, is shrinking. That means projects are clustering. Yeah? So people are clustering around successful projects. So all these things can be found out by having such data available, and this is all published and available as deliverables. And we have also done a nice book, yeah, for teachers, which can be downloaded from the web. But still, yeah, so we had these ethical concerns, yeah. So and so what I would say, what is important, yeah. So no live access. Yeah, so if you do research, disconnect every live source from the research data. Yeah, so working with dumps, yeah, and privatized, anonymized dumps is much better than working with the live data. Yeah, but better is to use privacy-preserving techniques like chopping the data in many pieces and storing them in different sources, making them useless for leaking. Yeah? So, and then if you're working with people, yeah, so consent is the most important concept here, I think. Yeah? So I can only reinforce what Jill said. And then you can also put data on the web. Yeah? So of course this is not compromising the data in that way, but still technology is a powerful tool. Yeah? So this is taken from the anonymized dump. Yeah? So somehow we manage, yeah, to put every school in the data set on this network by using the geographical data which were sent with school data. Yeah? And from that point, yeah, we could really see who were the most successful schools in this network, and from this it would be easy to track down the teachers again. Yeah? So there are ways. So this is not a map of Europe. Yeah? So this is only a network of schools. Yeah? So it seems like it's a map of Europe, but this is only the visualization of the data set of schools. Yeah, this is a network of schools with all the project links as connecting them, and you see how much of Europe is covered by this. And this is this most active school somewhere in remote Romania. Yeah? So where they have found the leaked data from Austria. Yeah? So the message is, yeah, even you should try hard, but even if you try hard, there are some people which are even better than you. Yeah? So it's always an endless fight between good and evil. Okay, so the new word, datability. Yeah? So introduced by the summit. Yeah, it's a new word for data sharing and responsibility. Yeah? Datability, I think, is a nice concept. We should have a clear identification of the benefits, risks, and harms for collecting ICT data. Ethical guidelines, as in medicine, I think is a very good model. Yeah? Approval routines and best practices for data sharing in science and education. Yeah? Transparency and accountability without the loss of privacy. always be able to tell where the data are coming from. Yeah, so but on the other side, we also need academic freedom. Yeah, so otherwise we are just our mechanical Turks, yeah, working on these things. So dataability, I think it's a buzzword, but I think research community have to be concerned about that. But on the other side, yeah, doing science is still something which needs a lot of freedom. Yeah? So last but not least, yeah, so what we get, so we have this targets here. I call it small worlds. Yeah? We have millions of them, perhaps. Professional communities using all these tools, yeah, like Facebook and so on, and we can really use big weapons to track them down. Yeah? So we have learning analytics methods, we have machine intelligence, knowledge representation. If we combine all this, yeah, so we will find out a lot of things. But also here, as we have already heard in the discussion, yeah, so only the deep involvement with the community, yeah, so can bring more than this quantitative analysis. Yeah. What you need is qualitative analysis. You need domain knowledge for sense making, what is really happening. Yeah. Otherwise, you get only data shadows. So you need have a passion for the communities and a sense of belonging. And you always see that not the persons only learn, but the community learns as well. So the community is, for me, is a new scientist. Yeah? So, and therefore, we should have community learning analytics for the community, by the communities. Yeah? As Jill said, yeah, we should give back the tools to the learners. Yeah? And my learner is the community. Yeah? So I have, I think, a different level of abstraction here. Thank you very much for the attention, and please feel free to ask.
Conscious of time, but I think we've probably got, if somebody's got a burning question that they want to ask now rather than in the discussion this afternoon, now is your opportunity to do it. No? It'll all keep. Okay, Ralf, thank you very much for this.